Section 1. Hey guys, tonight we are going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. In our busy lives, it is easy to forget that calm is not out there. It is already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you do not mind, let me know where you are listening from and what time it is there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let us ease into tonight's journey together. You step onto a narrow path of worn stone slabs, your feet crunching softly against the gravel. The air is cool and tinged with the scent of wet earth and pine needles. It is quiet here, so quiet that even your own breath seems louder than usual. Each inhale and exhale, creating a small cloud in the evening mist. Ahead, faint golden light flickers beyond the mist. A small wooden tea house perched gently on the hillside. Paper lanterns sway in the breeze, their glow spilling over mossy stones and illuminating the path with a warm, inviting softness. The sound of a distant stream murmurs somewhere nearby, its trickling flow weaving with the rhythmic creak of bamboo stalks swaying gently. You slide open the tea house door with a soft wooden rasp. Inside, the air shifts immediately warmer, scented with roasted tea leaves and the faint curl of sandalwood incense. A single candle flickers on a low table, its flame bending slightly as a breeze stirs through the open window. Shadows dance lazily across the walls, their movements slow and hypnotic. A monk sits cross-legged on a cushion across the room. His robe is simple, the fabric worn yet impeccably clean. For a moment he remains still, as if he has not noticed your presence. Then his head lifts slightly, and his eyes meet yours, not piercing or demanding, but soft, as though inviting you to bring all of yourself into this quiet space. With a gentle gesture, he motions for you to join him. You kneel on a cushion opposite him. The mat beneath your fingers is rough but grounding, its texture reminding you that you are here, now, in this exact moment. The monk reaches for a slender clay teapot, its surface slightly cracked with age. His movements are deliberate, graceful, each gesture carrying the weight of years of practice. The pot tilts, and tea begins to flow into a small porcelain cup. The sound is delicate, almost musical against the silence. The cup fills, and yet he continues to pour. Tea rises to the brim, then spills over, droplets tumbling down the side and pooling on the table. Your lips part slightly, instinctively wanting to warn him, but before you can speak, he raises one finger slowly, not to scold, but to invite you to pause. "This cup," he begins in a voice as gentle as the mist outside, "is like your mind. When it is already full, what more can it hold?" You glance down at the cup, watching as the tea clings to the rim, trembling slightly before sliding down in warm, glistening trails. You notice, too, how tightly your fingers are gripping the edge of the cushion, as if you have been holding on without realizing it. The monk lifts the cup and pours a little tea back into the pot. The sound of liquid returning is soothing, like a hidden stream gurgling over smooth stones. "To receive," he says, "you must first empty. To know peace, you must let go." The words settle over you like a soft blanket, warm and grounding. You think of all the things you have been carrying, plans, worries, regrets, clinging to them as if letting go would mean losing yourself entirely. The Buddha once taught that clinging is the root of suffering, that our constant grasping at what we desire and our pushing away of what we fear keeps us trapped in endless cycles of pain. What would happen if you loosened your grip, even for a single breath? Outside, the bamboo grove rustles gently, the stalks bending gracefully under the breeze. Unlike rigid trees that might snap in a storm, they sway and return to their place. The world outside seems to whisper, "Let go, let go." The monk places the now half-full cup before you. "Drink," he says softly. You lift the cup carefully, feeling its warmth seep into your palms. The tea's aroma rises light, floral, and slightly sweet. You take a slow sip, and the flavor lingers on your tongue like a memory. "Empty is not nothing," the monk says after a pause. "Empty is space. Empty is freedom." The candlelight flickers again, and you notice how your shoulders have softened, how your breath moves more easily through your chest. Could it really be this simple? Not adding more, not striving harder, but letting go just enough to make space for what matters. The monk's lips curl into a faint smile. You do not have to force it. Just notice. The more you notice, the lighter you will feel. You set the cup back on the table. Steam curls upward, twisting and fading into the cool night air. For this one quiet moment, you feel no need to grasp at anything, not even your thoughts. There is only stillness. There is only breath. And for now, that is enough. Section 2. The monk rises slowly from his cushion, the fabric of his robe whispering against the tatami mat. His movements are smooth, unhurried, like a leaf drifting on a quiet stream. He gestures for you to follow him, and you do, stepping carefully to avoid disturbing the stillness that fills the room. The door slides open with a soft wooden rasp, and a cool breeze flows in, carrying with it the scent of pine and the faint sweetness of wildflowers blooming somewhere nearby. Outside, the night has deepened, and the paper lanterns sway gently in the wind, casting warm, golden pools of light that ripple on the stone path. "Come," the monk says softly, and his voice feels like it is part of the wind itself, calm, steady, and inviting. "There is a lesson you must see for yourself." You step into the garden, your feet sinking slightly into the moss that carpets the ground. Crickets sing in the shadows, their chorus blending with the faint gurgle of a stream winding through the rocks. Every sound here seems softer, every color muted under the gentle glow of the lanterns. The monk leads you to a small wooden bridge arching over the stream. He stops in the middle and turns to face you, resting his hand lightly on the railing. "Most people," he begins, "carry their lives like this." He picks up a heavy stone resting on the edge of the bridge and places it in your hands. Its weight surprises you, solid, unyielding, pulling your arms down slightly as you try to hold it steady. At first, the stone feels manageable, he continues. You think, "I can carry this. It is not so heavy." But as the hours pass, the weight begins to press into your muscles, your joints, your very bones. And yet, you keep holding it because you have convinced yourself you must. That without it, you are less somehow. Or worse, that you might lose yourself entirely. The stone grows heavier in your hands as you listen, your fingers gripping tighter, your forearms aching slightly. "This is how we cling," the monk says. "We clutch at our thoughts, our fears, our regrets. We refuse to let go because the idea of emptiness terrifies us. We think if we release our grip, we will be left with nothing." He steps closer, his eyes meeting yours in the dim lantern light. But emptiness is not nothingness. It is space. It is freedom. It is the room for new life to grow. His words sink into you like gentle rain on dry soil. The Buddha spoke often about suffering and its cause. Tanha craving, thirst, the constant reaching for what is not here. We crave pleasure, permanence, certainty. But the more we grasp, the more elusive these things become. "What would happen," the monk asks softly, "if you simply placed the stone down? If you stopped fighting to hold it, stopped trying to control its weight?" You look down at the stone in your palms. Its surface is smooth, cool, but somehow it feels alive, as though it contains all the burdens you have been carrying, the thoughts that keep circling, the memories that sting, the fears that tighten your chest. Gingerly, you kneel and set the stone on the bridge. A surprising lightness spreads through your arms and shoulders, and you breathe out slowly, not realizing until now how shallow your breaths had been. Notice how your body feels now, the monk says. This is what the mind feels when you stop clinging. You close your eyes for a moment and sense it. A quiet spaciousness opening up inside you, like the sky after the clouds have drifted away. The monk smiles faintly. Letting go is not an act of force. It is not tearing something from your hands. It is the soft opening of fingers that have been clenched too long. A breeze flows over the bridge, carrying the earthy scent of moss and water. You hear the stream gurgling beneath your feet, its flow unbroken and effortless. Be like the stream, the monk says. It does not hold on to any drop of water. It allows each one to pass, trusting that more will come. For a long while, you both stand there in silence, watching the lantern light shimmer on the water's surface. And then, with a slight bow, the monk says, "There is more to see, but tonight you have taken the first step." You follow him back toward the tea house, the sound of the stream still whispering in your ears, its rhythm echoing somewhere deep in your chest. Section 3. You step back into the tea house, the air warmer now against your skin after the cool night outside. The monk moves ahead of you, his feet making no sound as he walks across the tatami mat. He kneels beside the low wooden table and gestures for you to sit again. The small clay teapot waits there, its surface glinting faintly in the candlelight, steam rising gently from its spout. The room feels different, somehow quieter, though no sound has been made. You sink onto the cushion and rest your hands in your lap, palms open. Your breath flows easier now, but your mind still hums faintly, like a bell that has not stopped ringing. The monk picks up the teapot and cradles it in both hands. "You noticed how heavy the stone felt earlier," he says softly. "The stone is easy to see, but what about the burdens you carry that are invisible?" He tilts the pot slightly, and tea begins to flow. The sound of liquid meeting porcelain is slow and deliberate. He fills the first cup halfway, then pauses, looking at you as if waiting for the lesson to land. "Our days are often like this," he says. "We rush. We pour too fast. And when we rush, we spill." He pours again, slower this time. The tea streams in a steady line, each drop seeming to take its time to join the others. "This," the monk murmurs, "is the practice of being here, of moving gently." When you pour tea slowly, you notice the sound, the warmth, the rising steam. It is no longer just tea. It becomes a meditation. You watch the steam curl upward, twisting and fading into the air. The fragrance is delicate, floral, almost sweet. Each curl of steam seems alive, each one different from the last. The monk sets the pot down. Many people think peace means changing their lives, changing jobs, changing homes, changing relationships. But true peace begins not with changing what you do, it begins with changing how you do it. You think of your own life, the hurried mornings, the cluttered evenings, the constant reaching for what is next. When was the last time you simply paused, just to pour a cup of tea, just to watch your own breath? The Buddha spoke of mindfulness, of knowing each action deeply as it happens. When walking, know you are walking. When eating, know you are eating. And when pouring tea, know you are pouring tea. Zen masters sometimes spend hours doing a single task, the monk says. They sweep the garden paths, arrange flowers in a vase, boil water. Not because these tasks are important, but because they are not. He smiles faintly. Peace hides in the unimportant moments, waiting for us to notice. A reflective question arises in your mind. What if you approached each ordinary moment in your life with this same attention? Could even washing a dish feel sacred? The monk pushes the cup gently toward you. You lift it carefully with both hands, feeling the warmth seep into your palms. You take a slow sip, the tea smooth and fragrant on your tongue. The candlelight wavers, casting long shadows across the walls. Somewhere outside, a breeze stirs the bamboo grove again, the stalks whispering softly to one another. And as you set the cup down, you realize that for these few minutes, your thoughts have not wandered. You have been here entirely present, calm, and open. The monk nods approvingly, as though he can sense this shift in you. You are beginning to understand, he says. Flow with life as you pour this tea slowly, gently, without spilling. You breathe out, long and quiet, and feel the space around you widen. Section 4. You set the teacup down carefully, as if it were something fragile and sacred. The monk watches you with a calm, steady gaze, his hands folded lightly in his lap. A faint smile traces his lips, not the kind of smile that seeks to please, but one born from quiet understanding. Now, he says gently, come with me once more. Tonight's lesson is not finished. You rise slowly from your cushion, noticing the sound of the mat's fibers shifting beneath your feet. The way the candlelight flickers as you move. The air feels different, lighter somehow, as though each breath carries less effort than before. The monk leads you back outside. The night air greets you like a cool embrace, wrapping softly around your skin. The lanterns sway in the breeze, their golden glow pooling across the mossy ground. Crickets sing in the shadows, their chorus low and rhythmic. You can hear the stream nearby, its waters murmuring as they slip over stones. The monk walks silently toward the stream, his robe whispering against his legs. You follow, stepping carefully across the uneven stones. When you reach the edge, he stops and kneels, his hands resting on his thighs. Beside him lies a small pile of smooth river stones, their surfaces glinting faintly under the lantern's light. He picks up one of the stones and holds it out to you. It is larger than the one you carried earlier, heavier and colder in your hands. The weight pulls at your arms immediately. This stone, he says softly, is the burden you have been carrying for years. The regrets, the fears, the anger. Every thought you refuse to release adds weight to it. You grip the stone more tightly than you mean to, feeling its chill seep into your palms. Most people, the monk continues, try to ignore the heaviness. They carry it into their relationships, their work, even their sleep, and yet they wonder why they feel tired all the time. He dips his fingers into the stream, disturbing its surface. Ripples spread outward in gentle circles, breaking apart the moon's reflection. You cannot pour tea into a cup already full, and you cannot feel light while clutching a stone. For a moment, you simply stare at the water. Its surface glimmers as the ripples settle again, becoming glassy and still. The monk's words echo in your mind. You cannot feel light while clutching a stone. What would happen, he asks quietly, if you simply placed it down? Not with force, not with resistance, but with the gentleness of setting a bird free. You look at the stone, its smoothness catching the lantern's glow. It seems almost alive, in your hands, alive with memories, with judgments, with all the things you have been unwilling to let go of. Your fingers loosen slightly, and for the first time, the idea of releasing it does not feel like failure. It feels like a relief waiting to happen. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from what happens to us, but from the clinging, the resistance, the unwillingness to allow things to be as they are. Could it really be this simple? To set down the stone and let the river carry it away? The monk dips a hand into the water again, lifting a small stream of it, and letting it fall back through his fingers. Notice how water never resists. It flows over every obstacle, around every stone, and yet it carves mountains. A breeze stirs the bamboo grove, the stalks creaking softly like an old door opening. The sound feels almost like a voice, urging you gently, let go, let go. You kneel and place the stone carefully into the stream. For a moment, it rests there, half submerged, before the current nudges it and rolls it softly downstream. You watch it disappear into the shadows, carried effortlessly by the water. As you straighten, you feel an unexpected lightness, not just in your arms, but in your chest, in your very breath. A tightness you had not noticed is gone now, replaced by a quiet spaciousness. The monk nods slowly, as though he can see this shift within you. Letting go, he says, is not about giving up. It is about giving yourself permission to be free. You close your eyes and breathe in deeply. The air feels sweeter somehow, lighter on your tongue. For a long moment, there is only the sound of the stream, the rustling bamboo, and your own breath moving in and out like gentle waves. And for the first time in what feels like years, you realize you are not holding on to anything. Section 5. The monk gestures for you to follow once more, his hand moving as gently as a falling leaf. You walk behind him, as he leads you deeper into the garden, your steps careful on the mossy stones. The air is cooler here, the scent of pine and damp earth more pronounced. You notice how your body feels lighter now, how your breath flows without effort, and yet there is a quiet hum inside you, a mixture of curiosity and something else, something harder to name. Tonight, the monk says softly, you have begun to let go of the stones you were clutching. But there is another kind of burden, one even more subtle. You tilt your head slightly, listening as he continues. The heaviest weight is not in the hands or shoulders. It is in the mind that refuses to see itself clearly. Ahead, the path widens into a small clearing. At its center lies a pond, perfectly still, its surface smooth as polished glass. Lanterns hang from the branches of nearby trees, their light reflecting in the water like a scattering of golden stars. The monk kneels by the water's edge and beckons you closer. As you approach, you catch sight of your own face in the pond's surface. The reflection is sharp, almost startling in its clarity. Your eyes, your breath forming small clouds in the cool air. Look closely, the monk whispers. What do you see? You study the reflection. You see tiredness in the eyes, shadows of thoughts flickering like clouds across a bright sky. You see the lines of tension still lingering in your brow. Now, wait, the monk says. Do nothing, watch. At first, small ripples disturb the image as a leaf drifts down from an overhanging branch. The water quivers, distorting your face. But slowly, as the ripples fade, the surface stills again. Your reflection returns, sharper than before, but different somehow. The monk dips his finger into the water, sending gentle waves across the surface. This is your mind, he says. When stirred, you cannot see clearly. Thoughts, desires, fears, they ripple through you and blur the truth. He pulls his finger away, and again the water begins to settle. The Buddha taught that in stillness, the nature of mind is revealed. Not the stories we tell ourselves, not the endless judgments, but the open sky that was always there. You watch the pond intently, sensing that this stillness is more than absence. It is presence, deep and luminous. What would happen, the monk asks softly, if you stopped chasing the ripples? If you simply let the water of your mind grow calm? A breeze brushes past, carrying with it the scent of blossoms and damp earth. Bamboo chimes tinkle faintly in the distance, their sound light and ethereal. You feel the question settle deep inside. What am I seeing when I look at myself? A face, a name, or something more vast, more quiet? Zen masters sometimes spend years gazing into a wall, the monk says, not to escape the world, but to watch their minds settle, to see what remains when every ripple has passed. You watch as a dragonfly skims the pond's surface, its wings catching the lantern light in brief flashes. Then it lifts away, and the water grows still once more. Peace, the monk murmurs, is not something you create. It is what is left when you stop stirring the pond. For a long moment, you sit there in silence, watching your reflection soften, blur, and return again. You feel something loosening deep within a knot you did not know was there. As you inhale, the air feels cool and clean. As you exhale, it is as though the whole garden exhales with you. The monk places a hand gently on your shoulder. You are beginning to see, he says, not with your eyes, but with your heart. You close your eyes, and for a moment there is no separation between you, the pond, the stars reflected in its surface, and the quiet breath of the earth beneath you. And in that stillness, you sense a truth so simple it almost makes you smile. You are already whole. ChatGPT said. Section 6. The pond's surface still glimmers faintly behind you as the monk stands, his robe swaying gently with the evening breeze. He turns toward a narrow path leading away from the clearing, lined with slender bamboo that creaks softly as they bend under the weight of the wind. Come, he says, his voice quiet but firm. Tonight, you have begun to understand stillness. But there is another lesson in movement, one that many overlook. You follow closely, your feet brushing over fallen leaves that crunch softly beneath your sandals. The air here feels different, wilder somehow. The fragrance of pine is stronger, mingling with the earthy scent of moss and the faint sweetness of blooming jasmine. As you walk, the monk slows his pace, and you notice how his body moves in harmony with the wind around him. His steps are light, his robes whispering with each motion. He seems as much a part of this forest as the swaying bamboo itself. Most people, he begins, believe peace comes from control. They plan, they grasp, they tighten their fists around life, thinking that if they can just hold on tightly enough, nothing bad will happen. He pauses, resting his hand on a slender stalk of bamboo. It bends easily beneath his touch, then sways back to its place as soon as he lets go. But control is an illusion. The tighter you hold, the more you suffer when life inevitably shifts. You think about all the ways you have tried to hold things still. Your routines, your relationships, even your own emotions. How exhausting it is to stand against the wind, to brace yourself against a world that refuses to stay the same. The monk steps off the path and leads you to a small open space where the bamboo thins out, revealing a cluster of maple trees. Their branches sway in the breeze, leaves fluttering and spinning as they fall gently to the mossy ground below. Watch the leaves, he says softly. You look up. A gust of wind rises, rustling the branches and sending a flurry of crimson and gold into the air. The leaves twist and turn, carried effortlessly by invisible currents. Some float slowly downward, others spiral out of sight, and a few cling stubbornly to the branches before finally letting go. Do you see? The monk asks. The leaves do not resist the wind. They do not cling to the branch, begging to stay. When their time comes, they surrender and allow the air to carry them. He kneels and picks up a single red leaf from the ground, holding it out to you. It is delicate, its edges curled slightly inward, yet it feels perfect in its imperfection. This leaf does not fight to return to the tree. It does not mourn the branch it once clung to. It simply allows itself to drift, and in drifting, it finds its place on the earth again. You turn the leaf over in your hand, tracing its veins with your thumb. Could you live this way? Could you let go of control and trust the wind to carry you where you need to go? The Buddha once said that clinging to permanence in a world of change is like trying to build a house on water. No matter how strong the walls, the foundation will shift and the house will sink. What would happen, the monk asks, his voice low and gentle. If you stopped resisting the winds of your own life, could you allow change to carry you, even if you do not know where it leads? A faint sound catches your ear, the steady creak of bamboo stalks swaying together, rubbing and knocking in soft, hollow tones. It is almost like a song, ancient and tender. The monk looks up at the dancing leaves again. Some people believe freedom comes from controlling every detail, but true freedom comes from letting go, like these leaves surrendering to the air. When you let go, life can flow through you rather than against you. You close your eyes and feel the breeze brush across your cheeks, lifting a strand of hair. For a moment, you imagine yourself as one of the leaves, light, unburdened, trusting the wind's invisible hands. The monk rises and places his palm lightly against your shoulder. The more you loosen your grip, the more life will open to you. The bamboo bends but does not break. The leaves fall but do not mourn. And you, too, can be carried gently if you are willing to trust. As you open your eyes, a final gust rises, sending another flurry of golden leaves spinning around you. One brushes against your sleeve before settling at your feet. You look down and smile faintly, feeling something softening deep inside. You are beginning to understand freedom is not in holding tighter. It is in opening your hands. Section 7. The monk steps lightly across the moss-covered ground, his presence blending seamlessly with the quiet rhythm of the forest. You follow, your breath sinking almost unconsciously with the sway of the bamboo that lines the path ahead. Their tall, slender stalks creak softly in the breeze, whispering secrets that seem older than memory itself. This way, the monk says gently, and his voice feels as much a part of the forest as the wind and the rustling leaves. You emerge into a clearing where bamboo grows thick and tall, their emerald green bodies stretching upward until they seem to vanish into the shadows above. The air here feels denser, cooler, and yet alive, with a subtle energy that hums just beyond the edge of hearing. Here in the bamboo forest, the monk begins. You will find your next lesson. Watch carefully, not with your eyes alone, but with your whole being. He pauses, laying his palm lightly against one of the stalks. The bamboo bends easily beneath the slight pressure of his hand, then returns gracefully to its place when he lets go. Bamboo is strong yet soft. It bends in the wind, but it does not break. In its flexibility lies its resilience. You step closer to the nearest stalk and press against it gently. To your surprise, it yields readily to your touch, swaying slightly before straightening again. There is strength in it, but not the brittle, rigid kind you might have expected. Instead, its strength feels alive, supple like a dancer moving with the music rather than against it. The monk gestures for you to sit. You lower yourself onto the moss, the cool, spongy surface supporting your weight as though inviting you to rest. Most people, the monk says softly, live like oak trees, stiff and unyielding. They build walls around their hearts, armor around their minds, believing that rigidity will protect them from life's storms. But when the wind comes, the oak may snap, while the bamboo simply bows and sways until the storm passes. You think of all the times you have braced yourself against change, tightening your grip on routines, beliefs, and even relationships, clinging as though your survival depended on staying the same. And yet, despite all your efforts, the winds of life have still blown through, breaking things you thought were unbreakable. Flexibility, the monk continues, is not weakness. It is the wisdom to know when to stand firm and when to yield, to flow with life's currents rather than resist them. A soft rustling sound fills the clearing as a stronger breeze ripples through the grove. Hundreds of bamboo stalks sway together, their leaves brushing against each other in a gentle, shushing chorus. Listen, the monk says. The bamboo does not resist the wind. It leans, it sways, it dances. And when the wind passes, it stands tall again, The Buddha taught of the middle way, not clinging to extremes, but finding balance in the ebb and flow of existence. Too rigid, and we break. Too loose, and we drift aimlessly. But in balance, there is freedom. What would happen, the monk asks, if you loosened your hold on who you think you are, on the idea that you must control everything? The question lands softly in your mind, but its ripples spread deep. Who am I without my rigid beliefs, my habits, my plans? Could I allow myself to bend, to sway, and yet remain whole? The monk kneels beside you, placing his hand lightly on a young bamboo stalk. Even the smallest shoot is already whole, he says. It does not strive to be taller, nor does it fear being cut down. It grows, because that is its nature. And when the wind comes, it trusts the earth beneath its roots. You close your eyes for a moment, and imagine yourself as bamboo, your roots sinking deeply into the earth, your body light and flexible, your mind swaying gently in the breeze. A sense of ease spreads through you, loosening knots you had not realized were there. When you open your eyes again, the bamboo grove seems brighter somehow, as though the lanterns above have bloomed with new light. The monk smiles faintly, as if sensing the shift within you. Rigidity shatters, he says, but what bends survives. And as the wind rises once more, you feel it not as an enemy to brace against, but as a dance partner, inviting you to move. Section 8. The monk rises from his place beside the bamboo and begins walking along a narrow trail that curves back toward the heart of the garden. You follow silently, your feet brushing over the soft moss and fallen leaves. The air is cooler now, carrying with it a hint of damp earth and the faint scent of sandalwood smoke from the tea house in the distance. As you walk, you notice a wooden broom resting against a stone lantern near the edge of the path. The monk stops beside it, his hand hovering briefly over the handle before he turns to you. Even the simplest actions, he says softly, can become gateways to peace if done with care. He lifts the broom, the bristles worn and frayed from years of use, and gestures toward the winding garden path, littered with delicate petals and fallen leaves. Tonight we sweep not to clean, he explains, but to see. You take the broom in your hands. Its handle is smooth and warm from the touch of countless palms before yours. As you hold it, there is a surprising sense of connection, not just to the object, the self, but to the unseen hands that shaped it, used it, and left traces of their presence in its grain. Begin, the monk says. You press the bristles lightly to the stones and draw them slowly toward you. A faint whisper rises, the sound of straw brushing over stone. The motion feels awkward at first. Your hands grip the broom too tightly, your strokes too hurried. Slower, the monk murmurs. The path is not going anywhere. You pause, then loosen your grip, allowing your hands to move more gently. As you sweep again, you notice details that had escaped you before: the varied textures of the stones, the soft rustle of dry petals as they shift beneath the broom, the way light and shadow play across the ground. Most people, the monk says, sweep their lives the way you first swept this path, quickly, forcefully, eager to reach the end. They clean away what they dislike, grasp for what they desire, never seeing the beauty of what lies in between. You glance down. The broom leaves behind not a perfect path, but one marked with faint lines and patterns. A breeze stirs, and a single crimson leaf drifts back onto the stones you have just cleared. Do not be discouraged, the monk says, sensing your thought before you speak it. Impermanence is not a flaw, it is the rhythm of all things. The Buddha taught of Anaka the truth, that nothing stays the same. Flowers bloom and fade. Paths clear and gather leaves again. Even the self you believe in shifts from moment to moment, like clouds drifting across the sky. What would happen, the monk asks, if you stopped striving for perfection? Could you embrace the dance of creation and dissolution? You sweep again, this time without urgency. The sound of bristles against stone becomes a steady rhythm, like the pulse of the garden itself. You feel your breath fall into sync with the motion. Inhale as you draw the broom back, exhale as you release. In this simple act, something softens inside you. The knots of thought and tension that had seemed so permanent begin to loosen. For the first time, sweeping feels less like a task to complete and more like a meditation, a way to touch the present moment fully. Zen masters, the monk says quietly, sometimes spend hours sweeping gardens, not to make them perfect, but to let their minds settle. In each stroke of the broom, they see the universe rising and falling, appearing and disappearing. Another gust of wind scatters a few petals across your freshly cleared path. You pause and smile faintly. Somehow, the sight does not frustrate you. Peace is not found in stillness alone, the monk says. It is found in meeting movement with grace. You look up at him and notice the candlelight from the distant tea house glimmering in his eyes. In that glow there is no urgency, no striving, only presence. As you return the broom to its place beside the lantern, you feel a quiet reverence for the task you have just performed. It was not grand or profound, yet it revealed a truth you can feel in your bones. You do not have to hold life still. You only have to move with it. Section 9. The monk begins walking again, his steps light and measured, and you follow, still feeling the rhythm of the broom in your hands, though it now rests by the stone lantern. The path winds through a grove, where the air grows even cooler, scented with pine resin and the faint sweetness of wild blossoms. As you walk, you notice the sounds around you. The soft creak of bamboo swaying in the breeze, the distant murmur of water, and somewhere ahead, a faint hum barely audible at first but growing clearer with each step. The monk leads you to a small clearing where a bronze bell hangs from a wooden frame. Its surface is aged, mottled with dark patina, yet the carved patterns of lotus petals and clouds remain intricate and vivid. A single wooden mallet rests at its base. This is the silent bell, the monk says softly. It does not ring unless invited. And yet even in its silence it teaches. You step closer, drawn to its presence. Though it makes no sound, the bell seems to hum faintly in your chest, as though resonating with something deep within you. Most people live surrounded by noise, the monk continues. Not just the clamor of voices and machines, but the ceaseless chatter of their own minds. Thoughts rise and fall like waves, and they believe they must chase each one. You close your eyes for a moment and listen not to the bell, but to the noise inside your own mind. There it is, a tumble of memories, worries, questions, and stray sensations, all swirling like leaves in a restless wind. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a monkey, the monk says gently, always grasping, always leaping from one branch of thought to another. But when you listen deeply, you begin to hear the stillness beneath the chatter. He gestures for you to take the mallet. It feels smooth and solid in your hands, heavier than you expected. Strike the bell, he says. Not hard. Just enough to wake it. You draw the mallet back and let it fall gently against the bronze. The sound blooms like a ripple in water, low, rich, and endlessly deep. It vibrates through the clearing, through the soles of your feet, through your chest and spine, until it seems to hum in every cell of your body. The tone lingers, softens, then fades, leaving behind a silence that feels alive. Do you hear it? The monk asks. Not the sound, but the space it leaves behind. You nod slowly. The quiet that follows the bell's song feels different from before, wider, deeper, as though it has brushed aside the noise to reveal an ocean beneath. In listening, the monk continues, you are not adding anything to the mind. You are not grasping or pushing away. You are simply allowing. Another question stirs within you. What would happen if I stopped fighting the noise in my own mind? If I let it rise and fall like the bell's tone, without holding or resisting, the monk smiles faintly, as if hearing your thoughts. Zen practice is not about silencing the mind by force. It is about noticing the spaces between the thoughts. In those spaces, you will find peace. He lifts his hand, and the breeze shifts, carrying the scent of jasmine through the clearing. The bamboo chimes in the distance tinkle faintly, their delicate music blending with the memory of bell's fading tone. Some masters spend hours listening to a single bell, not for the sound, but for the silence that follows, he says. In that silence, they find the whole universe reflected. You raise the mallet again and strike the bell once more. The sound blooms, rich and full, then softens into stillness. With each fading vibration, your breath slows, your shoulders drop, and the restlessness inside you grows quieter. For a moment, there is only the hum of the bell, then the hum within you, and finally, nothing. Just a vast, gentle, quiet. You see, the monk says, silence is not empty. It is full of the life you have been too busy to hear. As you set the mallet down, you notice the clearing feels different now, not because the sound has changed, but because you have. And in that shift, you begin to understand, the peace you seek is not hidden in some distant place. It is already here, waiting in the quiet spaces between each thought, each breath, each heartbeat. The monk places his hand lightly on your shoulder. Listen deeply. The bell will teach you what words cannot. You breathe in, the cool air filling your lungs, and as you exhale, you feel the noise inside. You recede like a tide drawing back to the ocean. ChatGPT said. Section 10. The monk steps away from the silent bell, his robes brushing softly against the moss as he moves. You follow him, your own footsteps almost soundless now. The clearing fades behind you as the forest grows denser, the scent of pine and earth deepening with each step. Somewhere in the distance, water murmurs a soft and steady sound that seems to call you forward. Ahead, a wooden bridge stretches across a narrow stream. Lanterns hang from its posts, their light swaying gently in the night breeze, casting faint ripples of gold on the water below. The monk stops at the edge of the bridge and turns to you, his expression calm but intent. This bridge, he says softly, is not merely wood and rope. It is a passage. You step closer and look down. The stream reflects the lantern light, its surface broken only by the occasional drifting leaf. The water flows endlessly, never stopping, never clinging to what passes through it. The monk rests his hand on the bridge's railing. To cross is to leave behind what no longer serves you. But to step forward, you must first step lightly. You place your foot on the bridge. The wood creaks faintly beneath your weight, but it feels solid. You take another step, then another, moving slowly as if the bridge itself demands your full attention. Most people run across life's bridges, the monk says, their eyes fixed on the far side, their hearts heavy with what they carry. They miss the air on their skin, the sound of water beneath them, the way the boards feel underfoot. They are so focused on getting across that they forget they are already here. You pause halfway across and rest your hands on the railing. The wood is worn smooth by years of touch. Below, the stream flows endlessly, weaving around stones, carrying fallen leaves gently onward. Do you feel it? The monk asks. This is not just a crossing. This is a moment to arrive in yourself. The breeze stirs your hair. The air smells faintly of wildflowers and cool water. The sound of the stream blends with your own breath, creating a rhythm that feels older than thought. The Buddha taught of sati mindfulness as a way to awaken fully into the present, not to escape the past or chase the future, but to step with awareness into what is already here. What would happen, the monk asks quietly, if you stopped rushing to the far bank? If you lingered on the bridge and let it teach you? You close your eyes for a moment. The creak of the wood beneath your feet, the hum of the lantern swaying above. The gentle gurgle of water below all of it washes over you, pulling you deeper into a quiet awareness. Zen masters sometimes walk back and forth across a single bridge for hours, the monk says. Not to go anywhere, but to feel each step as the earth meeting the sky. You open your eyes and take another slow step forward. Your heel touches the wood, then the ball of your foot, then your toes. The sensation is simple yet profound, like touching the world with your whole being. The monk smiles faintly. You are lighter now, he says, not because the path has changed, but because you have begun to loosen your grip on what you carry. As you near the far end of the bridge, a single maple leaf drifts down from the trees above. It lands on the railing beside your hand, its deep red hue vivid in the lantern light. The leaf does not hurry, the monk says. It falls where it falls. And yet it arrives. You take one final step and set your feet firmly on the mossy ground beyond the bridge. The air feels different here, lighter, as though the stream has washed something away from you as you crossed. Each step, the monk says softly, is an arrival. There is nowhere else to go. You breathe deeply, the cool night air filling your chest, and for the first time, you feel no need to hurry. The far shore is not a destination, It is simply another place to walk, to breathe, to be, and in that realization you sense a spaciousness opening within you, a quiet that feels as vast and gentle as the stream flowing endlessly beneath the wooden bridge. ChatGPT said, Section 11. As you step off the bridge, your feet meet the cool, springy moss that carpets the forest floor. The air here feels heavier but not oppressive, more like a deep embrace. Above you, the lantern light fades, and the stars begin to pierce through the canopy of leaves, their faint glow scattered like grains of salt across a midnight cloth. The monk walks slowly ahead, his robe whispering against the ground. He says nothing, but his silence feels deliberate, as if inviting you to listen not to him, but to the world around you. You hear it, the soft murmur of water receding behind you, the occasional crackle of twigs underfoot, the rhythmic sigh of wind as it passes through the trees. There is a steadiness in these sounds, a kind of presence you had not noticed before. After a few moments, you arrive in a small clearing where a massive pine tree rises at the center. Its trunk is thick, its bark furrowed and dark, with roots like great arms stretching across the ground and disappearing into the earth. The branches arch high above, their needles whispering softly as the breeze moves through them. This pine, the monk says at last, his voice low and reverent, has stood here for over 300 years. It has seen storms, droughts, fires, and yet it remains. You approach the tree and place your palm against its bark. It is rough and cool, the ridges deep beneath your fingers. You feel its solidity, its quiet strength, not rigid but grounded, alive. Most people think strength is about holding firm, never changing, the monk continues. But true strength lies in knowing when to be still and when to yield. He kneels at the base of the tree, his hands resting lightly on his knees. The pine's roots go deep into the earth, yet its branches sway with the wind. It is both rooted and free. You lower yourself onto the moss beside him. The scent of pine needles is rich and calming, mingling with the cool night air. The monk glances at you, his eyes reflecting faint starlight. Humans often forget this balance. They strive to grow upward, to reach higher, without tending to their roots, or they cling so tightly to their foundation that they refuse to sway, and in the storm, they break. You think about your own life, the ways you have sought to rise, to achieve, to control, and yet, in those moments of greatest effort, you felt the most fragile, the most unsure. The Buddha taught of interdependence, the monk says softly. A tree is not just a tree. It is the earth, the rain, the sun, the wind. Without these, it cannot stand, and you too are not separate. You are the breath of the air, the flow of water, the warmth of the sun. The thought lands deep in your chest, and for a moment you feel a loosening, as if the boundaries you have always imagined between yourself and the world are thinner than you believed. What would happen, the monk asks, if you let yourself root deeply into this moment, yet allowed your mind to sway like these branches? A breeze passes through the clearing. The pine needles shiver and rustle, and you listen to their song, a sound at once ancient and tender, like a lullaby for the earth itself. Zen masters sometimes sit for hours beneath old trees, the monk says, not to learn anything, but to remember. To remember that we are not visitors here, we belong. You close your eyes and imagine your own roots sinking into the earth, down through the soft moss, into the rich soil, entwining with the roots of the pine, reaching for water hidden deep underground. Above, your mind sways gently in the breeze, moving but never breaking. The monk's voice drifts through the silence. To be rooted is not to be heavy. It is to know where you stand. And to sway is not to be lost. It is to dance with what comes. When you open your eyes again, the clearing feels different. The tree is no longer just a tree. It is a teacher. Its lesson wordless yet clear. You rise slowly, feeling the solidity of the earth beneath your feet. Your breath deepens, and with it, a quiet strength flows into you. Not the strength of force or effort, but of presence. The monk smiles faintly. You are learning to stand still and to move. This is the way of the pine. A falling needle lands on your shoulder. You brush it away gently, feeling gratitude for its touch. And in that moment you understand. To be both rooted and free is not a contradiction. It is the essence of peace. ChatGPT said. Section 12. The monk rises gracefully, his robe catching the faint starlight as it sways with his movement. You stand as well, brushing your hands lightly across the moss. The pine tree looms behind you now, its branches still whispering in the cool breeze, but you feel a sense of release, as if its lesson has settled into you, like rain soaking quietly into dry soil. The path ahead is narrower, and the forest canopy thickens, the air growing denser. Yet there is a freshness to it now, a subtle current that brushes across your face like a gentle hand. The monk walks ahead, and though he makes no sound, you sense that his presence continues to ripple outward, guiding you even when your eyes wander to the shifting patterns of light and shadow beneath your feet. Soon, you come upon a small wooden structure, simple and unadorned, with a single open window framing the night sky. Moonlight streams through, spilling across the floor in a silver pool. The faint scent of aged wood and wildflowers drifts through the opening, mingling with the crispness of the air. The monk stops at the threshold and turns to you, his gaze steady and calm. This place, he says softly, is where the stale air leaves, and fresh wind comes in. You step inside and feel an immediate change. The air is cool against your skin, carrying with it the subtle hum of life outside, crickets chirping in the distance, leaves rustling in the trees, and the faint murmur of water far below. This open window, the monk continues, is like the mind when it is free of clinging. Thoughts come and go. Some carry the scent of flowers, others the damp chill of rain, but all pass through, leaving no trace. You approach the window and rest your hands on its frame. The wood is smooth but weathered, worn down by countless seasons of wind and sun. Outside, the garden stretches below, lantern light flickering faintly between the branches. A breeze rises, flowing over your face, cool and sweet. Most people, the monk says gently, live with their windows shut. They trap stale air inside, holding on to old thoughts, old pain, as if it were precious. They forget how to let the wind clear their rooms. The words settle in you with quiet force. How long have you kept your own windows closed? How many times have you replayed the same memory, the same worry, suffocating beneath their weight? The Buddha spoke of anicca impermanence as the truth that allows us to release. Everything comes and everything goes. To cling is to suffer. To let go is to breathe. What would happen, the monk asks, his voice almost a whisper, if you opened the window of your mind and let the wind pass through? You close your eyes and feel it now. A current moving gently within you, brushing against the edges of your thoughts. Memories rise. Some tender, some sharp, but like the breeze outside, they do not stay. Zen masters, the monk continues, sometimes sit for hours in front of an open window, not to escape the world, but to let it in, to allow sounds, scents, and sensations to flow through them without grasping. You imagine yourself sitting like that. No resistance, no clinging, only the open flow of life passing gently through. The breeze grows stronger for a moment, swirling around you. Loose strands of your hair lift and settle again. A faint floral fragrance drifts in, and with it comes a sudden lightness in your chest, as if some old stagnant air within you has finally begun to move. Do not fear what the wind carries away, the monk says. Nothing essential is ever lost. Only the dust is swept aside. You open your eyes and gaze out the window. The garden below feels both vast and intimate, alive with its quiet movements. A moth flutters briefly in the lantern glow, then disappears into the shadows. Peace, the monk murmurs, is not something you hold. It is what remains when you stop holding. You stand there in the moonlight, breathing deeply, and for the first time in a long while, you feel no need to do anything, to change anything. The breeze flows through you, and you let it. The monk watches you silently, a faint smile touching his lips. You are beginning to understand, he says. The window was never truly closed. You only needed to remember to open it. And as the wind brushes past once more, carrying the scent of pine and night blossoms, you sense a spaciousness within you, a quiet, airy freedom you thought you had lost long ago. ChatGPT said. Section 13. The monk lingers by the open window a moment longer, his gaze turned outward to the moonlit garden. Then, without a word, he steps back onto the stone path, and you follow. The cool air brushes gently across your face as you leave the wooden structure behind, carrying with it a faint fragrance of pine and damp earth. The path winds downward now, hugging the gentle slope of the hillside. The sound of water grows louder, with each step a soft, consistent murmur that seems to call you closer. As you walk, the monk's presence feels steady, like a quiet current, guiding you towards something deeper. Soon you arrive at the edge of a small pond. Its surface is perfectly still, mirroring the stars scattered across the sky and the faint glow of a lantern swaying in the distance. A large flat stone juts out over the water's edge. The monk sits cross-legged upon it, motioning for you to join him. This pond, he says softly, is like your mind when it is at rest. You lower yourself onto the cool stone and peer into the water. Your reflection stares back, softened by the moonlight, blurred slightly by the faint ripples that spread outward as a dragonfly skims across the surface. Every thought, every word, every action, the monk continues, is like a pebble dropped into water. The ripples expand outward, touching everything in their path. He picks up a small stone from beside him and holds it in his palm. Most people believe their choices affect only themselves, but the truth is, each ripple moves far beyond what the eye can see. You watch as he tosses the stone lightly into the pond. It lands with a soft plop, sending gentle waves across the surface. The stars reflected in the water shimmer and dance as the ripples pass through them. The Buddha taught that everything is interwoven, the monk says. No thought exists in isolation. No act leaves the universe unchanged. This is why mindfulness matters not just for your own peace, but for the peace of all beings. You think of your own life, the hurried words, the restless decisions, the times you acted without pausing to see where the ripples might spread. How many unseen waves have you sent across the waters of others' lives? The monk dips his finger into the water and draws a slow circle. The ripples move outward, intersecting with those from the earlier stone. When the mind is agitated, it creates chaos on the surface. But when still, it reflects clearly like this pond under the stars. A breeze stirs, sending tiny ripples across the pond's surface. Your reflection wavers, breaks apart, then reforms as the water calms again. What would happen, the monk asks gently, if you watched each ripple as it formed, without clinging to it, without trying to stop it? Could you trust the water to settle on its own? You close your eyes for a moment, listening to the soft sounds around you, the lapping of water against the stones, the quiet hum of crickets in the distance, the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze. Zen masters sometimes sit by water for hours, the monk says, not to escape their thoughts, but to see how each one rises, ripples, and fades. They learn that even the strongest waves pass in time. You open your eyes and watch the pond again. Another leaf drifts down from a tree above, landing lightly on the surface. It floats effortlessly, carried by the gentle current, creating small circles that spread outward before vanishing. There is no need to fear the ripples, the monk murmurs. They are only the movement of life. Peace is not found in stopping the water, it is found in knowing the water will settle. A sense of quiet spreads through you as you watch the pond. The thoughts that earlier felt so pressing now seem like tiny pebbles dropped into a vast and endless ocean. You breathe deeply, feeling your chest rise and fall in a slow, even rhythm. The stars above shimmer in the still water once more, clear and undisturbed. The monk turns to you and smiles faintly. You are learning to see. Each ripple is a teacher, if you are willing to watch closely. And as you sit there, under the vast sky, with the pond mirroring the universe above, you feel a quiet understanding take root within you. You are not separate from the ripples. You are the water itself. ChatGPT said. Section 14. The pond lies still now, its surface unbroken except for the occasional ripple from a falling leaf or a dragonfly skimming across the water. You sit quietly on the stone beside the monk, your breath slow and steady, as though the rhythm of the pond has seeped into your very bones. Come, the monk says softly, rising with a graceful motion that barely disturbs the air around him. You stand and follow him along a winding path, the earth soft beneath your feet and the scent of wildflowers drifting in faint waves. The path leads to a small grove of cherry trees. Their branches reach wide, heavy with blossoms so delicate they seem almost translucent in the moonlight. A soft breeze stirs, and petals begin to fall, spiraling gently to the mossy ground. Some drift onto your shoulders, others land silently in your hair. This is where the next teaching begins, the monk says, stopping beneath the largest tree. His gaze lifts to the branches, where clusters of pale pink flowers sway softly. Look at these blossoms, he continues. Their beauty is not in how long they last, but in how fully they bloom while they are here. You tilt your head back and watch as more petals release and tumble through the air, each one unique in its fall. For a moment the scene feels almost suspended in time, petals turning and dancing on invisible currents before coming to rest. Most people, the monk says gently, fear impermanence. They try to hold on to moments, people, and even their own selves as if they could freeze time. But impermanence is not something to resist. It is the very reason beauty exists. A memory surfaces one of laughter under a summer sky, a moment so vivid at the time, yet now softened and blurred by the years. You feel a pang in your chest. But as another breeze lifts the petals around you, the monk's words settle deeper. The Buddha taught that all conditioned things are impermanent. To see this clearly is not to despair, it is to be free. When we stop clinging, we can finally cherish what is here, knowing it will pass. The monk stoops to pick up a single petal from the ground and places it gently in your palm. It is impossibly light, its edges curling inward, as though already preparing to return to the earth. Hold it, he says. Feel its softness, its fragility. It is not meant to last forever. And yet, it is complete in this moment. You trace the fine veins of the petal with your thumb. Could you live like this? Could you let go of the fear of endings and embrace each moment fully, knowing it will not stay? What would happen, the monk asks, if you stopped resisting change? If you allowed each moment to bloom and fall as it must? A gust of wind sends another flurry of petals cascading around you. Some catch in the folds of your clothing. Others swirl at your feet before resting gently on the earth. Zen masters often sit under trees like these, the monk says, watching the petals fall for hours. In each one they see a teaching, birth, bloom, release. You close your eyes and listen. The sound of falling petals is softer than rain, more like a whisper or a sigh. It fills the air with a tender hush, as though the whole grove is breathing with you. Peace, the monk murmurs, is not found in stopping the petals from falling. It is found in seeing their descent as perfect. You open your eyes and watch a single petal drift downward, its movement slow and graceful, unhurried by the pull of gravity. It lands lightly on the surface of a small stone beside you. In that moment, you feel a stillness in your chest. Not an absence of emotion, but a quiet acceptance. A sense of being held by something larger than yourself. The petals fall, the monk says, but the tree does not mourn. It trusts that spring will come again. And so must you. You exhale softly and let the petals slip from your palm, watching as it joins the others on the mossy ground. There is no sadness in its falling, only a simple, unspoken beauty. And in that falling, you begin to sense a truth: nothing is lost. Everything is part of the endless blooming and releasing, the gentle dance of becoming and returning. Section 15. The monk begins walking again, his pace unhurried, his robe brushing softly against the moss-covered path. You follow in silence, the grove of cherry trees fading behind you. The air carries a new quality, now cool, fresh, but tinged with the faint warmth of something stirring on the horizon. The path rises gently, leading you up a slope lined with tall grasses that ripple like waves in the faint wind. Above, the stars are beginning to dim, and a soft gray light spreads slowly across the sky. The night is lifting, and with it comes a sense of quiet expectancy, as though the world itself is holding its breath. At the crest of the hill stands a simple wooden bench, weathered by years of wind and rain. The monk sits upon it, folding his hands lightly in his lap. He gestures for you to join him. Rest here, he says softly. We will wait for the sun. You lower yourself onto the bench beside him. The wood is cool beneath your fingers, and the air smells faintly of earth and dew. Below, the valley stretches in shadows, but already you can see faint outlines, trees, streams, the curve of the garden path where you walked earlier in the night. This moment, the monk says, is a threshold. The night has ended, but the day has not yet begun. It is neither here nor there, yet it holds all things. You listen as he speaks, his voice blending seamlessly with the whispers of the grass and the soft chirp of a single bird awakening somewhere in the distance. Most people spend their lives moving from one thing to the next, he continues. One task, one desire, one thought chasing another. They rarely pause to notice the space between this quiet emptiness that is not emptiness at all. You feel the words settle into you like stones gently laid in water. The monk lifts his gaze to the horizon, where a faint line of gold now glimmers. The Buddha taught that peace is not found in clinging to the light or fleeing the dark. It is found in seeing both as they are and resting in the space where they meet. A question stirs within you. What would it mean to live in that space, not grasping, not rejecting, simply being? The monk smiles faintly, as though sensing your thought. To awaken is not to become something new. It is to remember what you already are. As the first edge of the sun crests the horizon, a golden light spills slowly across the landscape. The grasses catch fire in its glow, each blade illuminated, swaying gently in the breeze. The air warms slightly on your skin, carrying the scent of wildflowers opening to the day. This is the rising sun, the monk says softly. It does not rush. It does not strive. And yet, it brings light to all things. You watch as the valley below is gradually revealed, streams flashing like ribbons of silver, trees stretching their branches wide, the pond from earlier reflecting the sky's growing brilliance. The Zen masters sometimes sit from dusk till dawn, the monk continues, not to mark time, but to witness the truth of it, to see that light and dark, movement and stillness, life and death are not separate, they are different faces of the same vastness. The warmth of the sun spreads across your face now, and with it comes a sense of quiet expansion, as though your chest has grown wide enough to hold the whole sky. What would happen, the monk asks, if you stopped chasing the light and running from the dark? Could you rest in the spaciousness between? You close your eyes and breathe deeply. The air fills you, warm and clean, and as you exhale, you feel the last remnants of heaviness dissolve like mist in sunlight. You have emptied your cup, the monk says. You have set down the stone, opened the window, watched the ripples fade, and felt the petals fall. And now, you see there is nothing left to do. You open your eyes again and watch as the sun rises fully, flooding the world with light. The monk stands, his silhouette framed against the glowing sky. You are already whole, he says softly. You always have been. He bows slightly. And in that simple gesture you feel the weight of every lesson, every story, every quiet moment of the night settling into place within you, not as knowledge to carry, but as a truth to live. As the monk begins walking down the hill, you remain seated for a moment longer, letting the warmth of the rising sun seep deep into your skin, your breath, your being. There is no need to hurry, no need to grasp, no need to resist. You are here, and that is enough. The sun has risen fully now, spilling its golden warmth across the hills, the forest, and the quiet garden below. You sit still on the wooden bench, eyes half closed, feeling the gentle weight of the moment wrap around you like a soft blanket. There is no sound but the whisper of wind moving through the tall grasses and the faint murmur of water in the valley. The air is rich with the scent of earth, pine, and the sweetness of wild blossoms opening to the new day. As you breathe in, the coolness fills your chest. As you breathe out, the warmth spreads through your body, releasing the last tension from your shoulders, your hands, your face. You recall the teachings of the night, the empty cup, the falling petals, the ripples on the pond. Each moment was like a lantern lighting the path. And now the lanterns have gone out, but their glow remains, deep inside you. There is nothing left to hold, nothing to grasp, nothing to resist. Just breath, just stillness, just the quiet hum of life flowing gently through and around you. Imagine yourself lying down beneath the wide branches of the old pine tree, its roots deep in the earth, its needles whispering softly above. Feel how the ground cradles you, steady and unchanging, as your own breath begins to slow. The monk's voice lingers faintly in your mind. You are already whole. You always have been. As your eyelids grow heavier, let each thought drift away like a leaf floating downstream. There is nothing more to do. You are home. Sleep now, and let the rising sun watch over you.
Section 1. Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you don't mind, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step lightly through the old wooden gate, its surface worn smooth by countless hands over the years. As it swings closed behind you with a faint creak, a gentle hush settles over your body. The night air is cool on your skin, carrying the faint scent of pine and the sweet whisper of jasmine in bloom. Before you lies the silent garden nestled deep within the monastery walls. Lanterns hang from thin bamboo poles, their soft golden glow spilling over the stone path in scattered pools of light. The world outside feels far away now, its noise and motion dimmed, like a dream fading at first light. Each step on the stone path brings a soft crunch beneath your feet, yet it feels as if the garden is holding its breath, listening to you. The air is alive with subtle sounds, the sigh of wind moving gently through bamboo leaves, the distant burble of water flowing unseen, and the faint chime of a bell carried on the breeze. A monk sits quietly on a wooden bench ahead, his posture calm and effortless, like a mountain resting beneath the stars. His robe is simple, its folds moving slightly with the evening air. He lifts his gaze as you approach, eyes warm and steady, yet carrying the depth of still water. "Welcome," he says softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "You have arrived at the gate of silence. Beyond here, words have little meaning. You are invited to listen to the garden, to your breath, and to what lies within." He rises and gestures for you to join him as he begins walking along the lantern-lit path. His steps are slow and deliberate, the hem of his robe brushing gently against the moss. As you walk, you notice how each lantern casts a circle of light that seems to breathe in and out with a faint breeze. Shadows dance on the ground, shifting with the sway of bamboo stalks high above. The scent of sandalwood drifts through the air in thin curls, grounding you in this quiet moment. Many who come here, the monk says gently, seek peace, as if it were something to be found outside themselves. But peace is not a place. It is the stillness that remains when we stop stirring the mind. You listen, feeling the words settle in your chest like a small stone dropped into a calm pond. The ripples are subtle, yet you sense them reaching into corners of your mind you rarely visit. The Buddha taught that clinging, whether to thoughts, emotions, or even to silence itself, creates suffering. What would happen if you loosened your grip even for a breath? The monk pauses and turns to face you. Here in the silent garden, nothing asks for you to fix it, to change it, or even to name it. You are free to simply be. You take a slow, deep breath. The air is cool and carries a faint sweetness. As you exhale, your shoulders drop slightly, and for the first time all day, you notice how tightly you had been holding yourself. Tonight, the monk continues, we will walk together not to reach a destination, but to see what unfolds when we are no longer hurrying. You nod softly, your fingers brushing against the smooth wooden railing that lines the path. The texture is comforting, real, anchoring you in this exact moment. A lantern flickers gently as you pass its flame. Bending in the breeze, but never going out. Like the flame, the monk says, your mind may waver in the wind of thoughts, but beneath it all the light remains. You close your eyes briefly and listen. There is no rush, no expectation. Just the garden's quiet breath and your own. And in that stillness, a simple truth begins to stir. You are already where you need to be. ChatGPT said Section 2. The monk begins walking again. His hands folded lightly in front of him, and you follow your feet brushing over smooth stones scattered with fallen petals. The lantern light flickers as the breeze passes, casting shifting patterns across the path, like ripples on water. Ahead, the bamboo grove thickens slender green stalks, swaying softly, as though breathing in unison with the wind. A faint rustling fills the air, subtle at first, then more distinct, the sound of countless leaves brushing against one another like whispers carried on the night air. The monk stops at the edge of the grove, resting one hand lightly on a bamboo stalk. It bends slightly under his touch, then springs back with a quiet creak. Listen, he says gently, tilting his head toward the grove. You do. At first, you hear only the obvious sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of water, and the occasional hum of a night insect. But as you settle into the moment more, layers reveal themselves, the soft groan of bamboo stalks rubbing together, the faint knock of hollow stems shifting in the breeze, and a kind of music hidden within the randomness of it all. It is easy to miss this, the monk says. Most people walk past quickly, their minds full of yesterday's worries or tomorrow's plans. But when you slow down, even the wind can teach you. He gestures for you to step closer. As you do, the cool scent of bamboo rises fresh green and slightly sweet, mingling with the faint, earthy aroma of moss at your feet. Bamboo bends, the monk murmurs, but it does not break. It yields to the wind, and in its yielding, it survives. The Buddha taught that rigidity leads to suffering, while flexibility allows us to flow with life's changes. What would happen if you let yourself sway like the bamboo instead of bracing against every gust? You place your palm lightly against a stalk. It feels cool and smooth, yet alive, vibrating faintly as the breeze stirs it. You press gently and it leans with your touch, then returns upright the moment you release it. Zen monks sometimes stand in bamboo groves for hours, the monk says. They watch the wind move through the stalks and listen not for meaning, but for presence. A stronger gust passes through, and the grove comes alive with sound. A wave of rustling leaves, soft clacks, and low groans, as though the bamboo itself is speaking. You close your eyes and let the sound wash over you. At first, your mind offers commentary. This is beautiful. This is strange. But as you keep listening, the thoughts grow softer, like ripples fading on a pond. The monk's voice drifts into the quiet. The wind does not cling to the bamboo, and the bamboo does not cling to the wind. They meet, they move together, and then they part. The breeze shifts again, cooler now, brushing across your face and neck. It carries with it a sense of lightness, of movement, unbound. Peace is not found in holding still like a stone, the monk says. It is found in moving gently with the currents of life. You take a slow breath, the air filling your lungs with a fresh, green scent. As you exhale, you feel something loosen in your chest, an old tension that you hadn't realized you were gripping so tightly. The monk smiles faintly, as if he senses the shift. The bamboo whispers to those who listen. It does not speak of past or future, only of now. You open your eyes. Lantern light filters through the swaying stalks, breaking into slender beams that dance on the ground. The path ahead seems less like a place to reach and more like part of a quiet, endless rhythm. The monk steps forward, his robe brushing softly against the leaves. Walk with me, he says. But walk as the wind walks lightly without grasping. You follow your steps slower now, each one a small act of listening. The bamboo sways above you, its song carrying you deeper into a stillness that feels alive. And in that moment, you begin to understand stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence within the movement. ChatGPT said Section 3, the path narrows as you and the monk leave the bamboo grove behind. The soft rustle of leaves fades into a deeper quiet, the air heavier here, as though the earth itself is holding its breath. Ahead lies an old stone walkway, its uneven slabs worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The lanterns are sparser now, their golden glow casting long shadows that dance gently across the moss. You step onto the stones, the surface cool and slightly damp beneath your feet. Each stone is unique. Some cracked and pitted, others overgrown at the edges with tiny ferns and moss, their green softness spilling across the gray surface. The monk walks slowly, his hands clasped loosely behind his back. You notice how carefully he places each foot, as if every step carries its own quiet intention. Most people, he says softly, see only the destination. They rush eyes fixed ahead, missing the stones beneath their feet. You pause for a moment, letting your gaze fall to the path. There's beauty here. The subtle curve of each stone, the way the moss glows in the lantern light, the tiny droplets of dew gathering in shallow cracks like miniature pools. The Buddha spoke of sati mindfulness, the monk continues. To walk with awareness is to awaken to what is already here. You take another step, this time slower. Your heel touches first, then the ball of your foot, then your toes. The movement feels deliberate, almost ceremonial. A faint scent of earth rises as the moss shifts beneath your weight. Zen monks often practice kinhin walking meditation, the monk says. They walk as though each step were their first and their last. Not to arrive anywhere, but to be fully present. A thought drifts into your mind. When was the last time I walked without thinking of where I was going, without the weight of time pressing on me? The monk's voice interrupts gently as though answering your question. Time only rushes when you do. The stones beneath you do not hurry. They have waited centuries for your footsteps. You lift your foot again, placing it on the next stone. A small pebble wobbles under your toes before settling. The sensation draws a faint smile to your lips. It feels almost like the stone is teaching you balance. Each stone, the monk says, carries the memory of rain, of sun, of all who walked here before. When you walk with care, you join them not just in place, but in presence. A lantern flickers as a breeze passes, and you notice how the shadows shift and stretch across the stones. It feels as though the path itself is alive, breathing slowly with you. What would happen, the monk asks, if you stopped rushing across your life's path? If you placed each step as though the ground beneath you were sacred? You pause mid-step, letting the question ripple through you. Could you live this way, one step at a time, aware, unhurried, trusting that each moment is enough? The monk smiles faintly. Peace is not found at the end of the path. It is found in how you walk it. As you move forward again, a strange thing happens. The sounds of the world sharpen. You hear the faint drip of water from a nearby stone, the whisper of wind passing over the moss, the soft crunch of your own footsteps. And in that sharpening, a quiet understanding begins to bloom. Not as a thought, but as a feeling in your chest. You don't need to reach the end of the path. You are already here. ChatGPT said Section 4. The old stone path widens slightly, curving toward a gentle slope. The air grows cooler as you climb, and a faint mist begins to settle over the garden, softening the edges of the world. The lanterns ahead glow like small moons suspended in the haze, their light diffused into golden halos that seem to float in midair. The monk walks steadily before you, his robes trailing just above the moss. His pace never changes, unhurried, yet sure as though he knows there is nowhere else to be. "Do you see the mist?" he asks softly, his voice carrying like a breeze through bamboo leaves. It blurs the path, hides the shapes of trees, and yet, here we are still walking. You nod slightly, feeling the damp air on your cheeks, the cool beads of moisture gathering on your eyelashes. Life is often like this, the monk continues. There are times when clarity escapes us, when everything feels uncertain and we long for the fog to lift. But awareness is like these lanterns. It doesn't chase away the mist. It shines gently within it. He pauses near one of the lanterns and rests his palm on the wooden post. The flame inside flickers its light steady, even as the wind stirs the mist around it. The Buddha taught of samasati, right mindfulness, the monk says. It is not about forcing away confusion. It is about seeing even the confusion with clear eyes. You draw in a breath, the moist air cool in your lungs, and feel the weight of his words settle into you. What would happen, he asks, if you stopped trying to push the mist away? Could you let it be and find your light within it? You watch the golden glow of the lantern beside you. In the mist, its reach is small, just enough to illuminate a circle of moss and stones, but it feels deeply comforting. Zen masters sometimes walk gardens at night. The monk says not to find their way, but to lose it. To discover that the path is not a line, but a field of moments, each one enough on its own. You take another step, the stones slightly slick beneath your feet. The mist curls and drifts like living breath, shifting with your movement. You notice how it changes constantly, thickening, thinning, swirling gently in unseen currents. And yet even with the haze obscuring the way ahead, there is no fear, only this quiet, intimate presence between you, the monk, and the lantern light. The mind craves certainty, the monk murmurs. It wants to know what comes next, to see clearly to the end. But peace is not found in seeing far. It is found in seeing fully here where your feet rest. You pause for a moment, closing your eyes. The sound of your breath mingles with the faint hiss of wind in the trees. Even without sight, you feel the solidness of the stone beneath you, the coolness of the air on your face, the glow of the lantern beside you. When you open your eyes again, the mist feels different, not an obstacle, but a soft veil over a world that doesn't need to be fully understood to be beautiful. The monk steps forward, his voice almost a whisper now. Let your awareness be the lantern. It does not need to burn away the fog. It only needs to glow steadily, moment by moment. As you follow him, the mist shifts again, parting slightly to reveal the faint outline of a wooden bridge ahead. The lanterns sway gently in the breeze, their golden circles of light overlapping like ripples on water. And in that soft, overlapping glow, you begin to sense a quiet truth. Even in the fog, the path is still here. And so are you. ChatGPT said Section 5. The wooden bridge creaks softly beneath your feet as you follow the monk across the sound, blending with the gentle murmur of water flowing beneath. The mist lingers around you, cool and damp, carrying with it the faint scent of wet earth and cedarwood. On the far side, the path widens into an open courtyard, surrounded by low wooden eaves and paper lanterns swaying faintly in the night breeze. In the center of the courtyard, an old straw broom leans against a stone lantern. Its bristles are worn and frayed, its handle smooth from years of use. The monk stops beside it and turns to you, his expression calm and unhurried. Before us is a simple task, he says softly. But within it lies a great teaching. He lifts the broom gently and holds it out to you. You take it, feeling its lightness in your hands, the wood warm from the touch of his fingers. This courtyard, the monk continues, collects fallen petals, leaves, and dust every day. No matter how often it is swept, the wind always brings more. And yet, We sweep not to make it perfect, but to practice seeing clearly. You glance around the courtyard. The stones are scattered with delicate cherry blossoms, their pale petals glowing faintly in the lantern light. Begin, he says quietly. Sweep, but sweep slowly, as though the broom is an extension of your own breath. You press the broom lightly to the ground and draw it toward you. The bristles whisper across the stones, gathering the petals into soft piles. At first, your movements are awkward too. Quick your grip on the handle too tight. Slower, the monk murmurs. Let the broom teach you. You loosen your hands, allowing the broom to glide more easily. The sound of bristles on stone grows softer, steadier, almost rhythmic. You begin to notice details you had missed before, the way the petals shift and tumble with the faintest touch, the subtle lines etched into the stones, the tiny grains of sand that sparkle under the lantern's glow. Most people sweep their minds the way they sweep a floor, the monk says, hastily trying to clear away what they dislike. But true peace comes not from clearing, but from noticing. As you continue, a light breeze stirs, scattering a few petals across the stones you've just swept. You pause, a flicker of frustration rising in your chest. The monk steps closer, his voice gentle. The wind will always bring more petals. To sweep is not to defeat the wind. It is to meet the moment as it is. The Buddha taught of impermanence, that nothing stays the same, not even a freshly swept floor. What would happen if you stopped striving for perfect order and allowed the world to breathe as it does? You draw the broom across the stones again this time, with no expectation of keeping them clear. The act itself becomes enough: the sound, the movement, the gentle weight of the broom in your hands. Zen monks often sweep gardens as a meditation, the monk says. Each stroke of the broom is a bow to the present moment. Nothing more, nothing less. You notice the courtyard now feels different. Not cleaner necessarily, but quieter, softer, as though the act of sweeping has settled something in the air and in you. A single petal drifts down and lands on your shoulder. You smile faintly and let it rest there. There's no need to brush it away. The monk places a hand lightly on your arm. Peace is not in finishing the task, he says. It is in meeting each sweep with care. You rest the broom gently against the lantern where you found it. The courtyard is scattered with petals still, yet it feels complete. And in that soft incompleteness, you sense a quiet truth. The world does not need to be cleared for you to rest within it. Section 6. The monk gestures softly for you to follow as he moves beyond the courtyard, his steps slow and deliberate. The broom rests now against the lantern where you left it, its task unfinished, yet there is no urgency in your heart. The air grows cooler as you walk, carrying the faint scent of sandalwood and the lingering sweetness of fallen cherry blossoms. The path narrows again, winding through a quiet grove where shadows pool between the trees. Ahead you see a simple wooden bench beneath the outstretched limbs of an old maple tree. Its surface is worn smooth, the grain of the wood darkened by countless seasons of rain and sun. The monk stops beside the bench and places his hand lightly on its backrest. Sit, he says softly. You ease yourself onto the bench. The wood feels cool beneath you, grounding and solid. Around you, the garden seems to hold its breath. The only sounds are the faint rustle of leaves and the soft chirp of a night bird somewhere in the distance. This bench has no purpose but to wait, the monk says, settling beside you. It does not move. It does not strive. It does not even ask to be noticed. And yet it serves all who come here. You place your hands loosely in your lap, feeling the tension in your shoulders begin to slip away. Most people fill their lives with motion, the monk continues. They sit only to prepare for the next action, to plan or to remember. Rarely do they sit for the sake of sitting. His voice is gentle, almost a whisper. The Buddha spoke of samadhi, a deep collected stillness of body and mind. It cannot be forced. It arrives when we stop seeking. You take in a slow breath, the cool air spreading softly through your chest. As you exhale, you let your gaze rest on the ground before you. A single petal drifts down from the maple above, spinning lightly before settling on the earth. What would happen, the monk asks, if you gave yourself permission to pause, not to recover, not to prepare, but simply to be? You close your eyes for a moment. At first, your mind offers its usual chatter, fragments of thought, echoes of conversations, vague reminders of things undone. But as you stay still, these thoughts grow softer, like ripples fading on a pond. The monk says nothing now. His presence beside you is enough. A breeze stirs the leaves overhead, and you hear their soft murmur, a sound like 1,000 tiny breaths. In this space, you feel no need to move, no need to speak. The bench holds you as it has held countless others, offering nothing and asking nothing. Zen masters often spend hours sitting silently, the monk says at last, not to achieve enlightenment, but to remember that they are already whole. You let the words settle into you, not as instructions, but as a quiet realization. There is no task to complete, no problem to solve, no destination to reach. There is only this bench, this breath, this moment. The monk rises slowly, his movement fluid and unhurried. He does not speak, but turns toward the path. You remain seated for a little longer, feeling the wood beneath you, the air around you, the stillness within you. And as you finally stand to follow, you carry a subtle truth with you. Sometimes the greatest journey is the one that leads you nowhere at all. Section 7. The path slopes gently downward now, leading you and the monk toward the sound of flowing water. The air feels fresher here, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and wildflowers. You hear the soft gurgle of a stream even before you see it, its voice like a quiet song woven into the fabric of the night. The lantern light fades slightly as the mist thickens again, curling around the trunks of slender trees that arch gracefully over the path. Their branches are dotted with blossoms, some still clinging tightly, others trembling on the verge of release. Ahead, the monk pauses at a small wooden bridge spanning the stream. He rests one hand on the railing, his gaze turned downward. You step beside him and follow his eyes. Beneath you, the water moves gently over smooth stones, carrying with it a scattering of pale petals. They drift silently, spinning and swaying, carried wherever the current leads. Some cluster for a moment against a rock before being swept away again. Look closely, the monk says softly. Each petal falls when it is time. None struggles to stay on the branch, and none fights the stream that carries it. You watch as a single blossom detaches from a branch overhead. It twists in the air, caught in an invisible current, before landing lightly on the water's surface. It floats for a moment in stillness, then joins the others in their quiet journey downstream. The Buddha taught of anicca, impermanence. The monk continues. Everything that arises must pass. This is not a curse. It is the nature of all things. His words settle gently into you like pebbles dropping into the stream. How much of your life, he asks, have you spent grasping at what must fall, or resisting the current that would carry you forward? You take a slow breath, the air cool in your lungs. Memories stir moments of holding on too tightly, of fearing change, of wishing things could remain as they were. And yet here, watching the petals float so peacefully, the fear softens. Zen monks often meditate by streams like this, the monk says. They watch the water, the leaves, the petals. In each one, they see the truth of life's flow. Another gust of wind passes through the grove. A flurry of petals detaches from the branches above, swirling in the air like snowflakes before settling on the water. You lean on the railing, your fingers brushing the smooth wood. The stream hums softly below its song, as steady as breath. What would happen, the monk asks gently, if you let yourself drift for a while? not to give up, but to trust that the current knows the way. A quiet unfolds within you, not the silence of emptiness, but the fullness of surrender. You watch as the petals move out of sight, carried into shadows beneath overhanging branches. You cannot see where they go, but you feel no need to know. The petals do not cling, the monk says. The stream does not stop. And yet all is well. You step off the bridge with him, the sound of water fading behind you. The path ahead is still shrouded in mist, but your chest feels lighter now, as if something you've carried for too long has been set gently down. And in that lightness, you sense a quiet truth. Peace is not found in holding on. It is found in allowing yourself to be carried. ChatGPT said Section 8. The path curves gently uphill, and the sound of the stream fades into the distance, replaced by a profound stillness. The mist thins slightly, revealing the faint outline of a tall wooden structure ahead. As you approach, the shape grows clearer. A bell tower rising above the garden, its simple design framed by the branches of ancient pine trees. The monk walks slowly, his steps silent on the mossy stones, until he stops at the base of the tower. The large bronze bell hangs motionless, suspended from thick ropes. Its surface is darkened with age, the carvings of lotus petals and clouds faint, but still visible. A long wooden striker rests gently against its side, as though waiting for an invitation to sound. This is the bell tower, the monk says softly. It breathes as you breathe. Even in silence it teaches. You step closer, feeling a subtle vibration in the air, as if the bell's presence alone hums with quiet energy. Most people hear only the strike of the bell, the monk continues, but the teaching lies in what comes after, in the fading sound, in the space between the tones. He gestures to the striker. Would you like to wake the bell? You hesitate for a moment, then wrap your hands gently around the wooden pole. It feels smooth worn from years of monk's palms, resting where yours now do. You pull it back slowly and let it swing forward with a soft, controlled release. The striker meets the bronze with a deep, resonant tone that blooms instantly, filling the air around you. The sound is rich and warm, like ripples expanding across a vast pond. It vibrates through your chest, down your arms, even into the soles of your feet. Listen, the monk whispers. You do. The initial resonance fades slowly, but it doesn't disappear all at once. It lingers, softening into a delicate hum that seems to float in the air, invisible yet fully present. Then even the hum dissolves, leaving only silence. But the silence feels different now, alive, somehow, as if the fading bell has swept away the noise within and revealed something vast and still beneath. The Buddha spoke of shunyata, emptiness, the monk says. But this emptiness is not nothingness. It is the space in which everything arises and fades. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. The cool air enters your lungs like a wave, and as you exhale, you feel the residue of tension in your body melt into the quiet. Zen monks often sit in bell towers for hours, the monk continues. They listen not only for the sound, but for the silence that follows. In that silence, the mind settles. The self softens. Another question arises within you. What would happen if I stopped chasing noise and simply let the silence teach me? The monk touches the striker lightly. Would you like to wake the bell again? This time, you draw the pole back more slowly, savoring the sensation of its weight and balance. As it swings forward, the bell's song emerges once more, a sound so rich and full it feels almost like a living thing. The tone expands outward, merging with the night air, with the lantern light, with the beating of your own heart. And then it fades again, returning you to that deep, endless stillness. You see the monk murmurs the bell does not cling to its sound. It allows it to rise, to bloom, and to pass away. And so can you. You stand in the quiet, the cool night air wrapping gently around you. The bell is silent now, and its teaching lingers not in words, but in the spaciousness within your own chest. And in that spaciousness, you sense a quiet truth. Silence is not empty. It is where you can finally hear yourself breathing. Section 9. The monk steps softly away from the bell tower, his robes whispering against the moss as he moves. You follow in silence, still feeling the resonance of the bell within your chest. It's as if the sound never fully faded, it simply shifted into the quiet around you. The path curves gently, lined with low stone lanterns glowing faintly in the mist. The garden opens into a small clearing, and at its center stands an old plum tree. Its branches twist and stretch like flowing calligraphy, adorned with clusters of pale blossoms that seem to hold the light of the lanterns in their petals. The monk stops beneath the tree and gestures to its shadow spreading across the ground. "Do you see how the light creates this darkness?" he asks softly. You glance down. The lanterns cast intricate patterns through the branches, and the shadows dance faintly as the flames flicker. In some places, the petals are so luminous they seem to glow, while in others, the leaves cast deep pools of shade. Most people fear the dark, the monk says. They chase after light as if it were the only truth. But light exists because of the dark, and dark because of the light. They are not two, they are one. You let the words settle in your mind, your gaze tracing the interplay of brightness and shadow on the earth. The Buddha taught of pratitya samutpada, interdependent origination. The monk continues. Nothing exists alone. Joy arises with sorrow, day with night, sound with silence. Each gives shape to the other. A gentle breeze stirs, setting the branches swaying. Petals drift down and land lightly on the ground. Some in the lantern's glow, others vanishing into the shadow. What would happen, the monk asks, if you stopped trying to stand only in the light? Could you allow the shadows to be part of your peace? You watch as a single blossom tumbles from a high branch, spinning in the air before settling softly on the border between light and dark. Zen masters often sit under trees like this, the monk says. They watch the shifting patterns of shade and illumination until they see no separation, only the whole. You step closer and rest your palm lightly on the tree's rough bark. It is cool beneath your touch, alive, with a quiet strength that seems to flow from root to branch, from blossom to falling petal. As you breathe in, the air carries the faint sweetness of plum flowers mixed with the earthy scent of moss. The mind often divides the world, the monk murmurs. This is good that is bad. This is light that is dark. But peace is found beyond these divisions, in the place where opposites dissolve. You close your eyes briefly and listen. There is no light or dark behind your eyelids, only a quiet space where your breath rises and falls like a soft tide. When you open your eyes again, the shadows no longer feel like absence. They feel like a resting place. For the light, a balance that makes the blossoms glow more brightly. The monk places a hand gently on your shoulder. You are beginning to see, he says, not with the mind that separates, but with the heart that embraces all. Another breeze moves through the clearing, sending a flurry of petals drifting down. Some land in the lantern's glow, others in the deep pools of shadow, but you no longer feel a need to distinguish between the two. And in that soft mingling of light and dark, you sense a quiet truth. Peace does not come from choosing sides. It comes from seeing there are no sides at all. Section 10. The air feels warmer now as you leave the plum tree behind its blossoms and shadows still lingering in your mind like a gentle echo. The monk walks slowly ahead, the faint light of the lanterns catching in the folds of his robe. You follow in silence, your steps soft on the mossy ground. The path leads to a small wooden tea house, nestled among low shrubs. Its sliding doors are open, and a soft golden glow spills out, inviting you in. The faint aroma of roasted tea leaves drifts on the breeze, rich and earthy, blending with the sweet scent of night flowers. The monk steps inside and gestures for you to join him. The air within is warmer, filled with the subtle crackle of a tiny brazier where water steams gently in a kettle. A low wooden table sits in the center of the room, and on it rests a single teacup. Plain, unglazed, its surface irregular, but beautiful in its simplicity. "Sit," the monk says softly, lowering himself onto a cushion beside the table. You kneel opposite him, the tatami mat cool beneath your knees. The teacup draws your attention, its muted color, its delicate imperfections, the way it seems to belong perfectly in this quiet space. This cup, the monk begins, was shaped by a potter's hands many years ago. Its form is not flawless, yet it holds tea just as well as any polished vessel. He lifts the kettle and pours hot water over the tea leaves in a small clay pot. Steam curls upward, carrying with it a fragrance that is at once calming and grounding. "Most people live as though life were a cup to be filled to the brim," he continues. They pour in tasks, desires, plans more and more, until there is no room to breathe. He fills the plain teacup halfway and sets it before you. The liquid shimmers in the lantern light, sending faint ripples to its edge. But Zen teaches that an empty cup is the most useful, the monk says. Only when you empty yourself of what you cling to can you truly taste what is poured in. You lift the cup carefully, feeling its warmth seep into your palms. As you bring it closer, the aroma deepens, earthy, faintly sweet with a subtle smokiness. You take a small sip, the tea's heat spreading through your mouth, down your throat, into your chest. It is simple, unadorned, yet profoundly satisfying. The Buddha spoke of simplicity, the monk murmurs. To savor each moment fully, we must not rush to the next. The tea is not hurrying to cool, nor is the cup struggling to hold more. You take another sip slower this time, letting the flavor linger on your tongue. What would happen, the monk asks gently, if you lived as though each sip were enough? Each breath complete in itself. The warmth of the tea spreads through your body like a gentle tide, loosening something deep within you. Zen monks sometimes spend hours with a single cup of tea, the monk says, not for the tea alone, but to practice being fully alive in the moment. You set the cup down carefully and notice how light it feels now, almost weightless. This cup, the monk says softly, teaches without words. It holds when filled, rests when empty. It does not cling to the tea nor resist being set aside. A faint breeze passes through the open door, stirring the lantern's flame. The room smells faintly of cedar and steamed leaves. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. In this moment, there is no need to think ahead. No urge to hold on. There is only the warmth in your palms, the lingering taste on your lips, the stillness of the tea house. And in that stillness, you sense a quiet truth. Life, like tea, is best savored sip by sip. Section 11. The monk rises slowly from the cushion, his movement fluid and unhurried. You follow, stepping lightly across the tatami as the faint aroma of tea lingers in the warm air behind you. Outside, the night feels softer now, the mist thinner, revealing the garden bathed in the cool glow of moonlight. The path leads to a shallow pond where lanterns float gently on the surface, their reflections wavering like stars in moving water. In the distance, you hear a faint sound, a low, haunting call that carries across the stillness. That is the crane, the monk says softly. It returns here every spring. Its wings teach us of grace, and its song teaches us of longing. You walk closer to the water's edge. The pond is surrounded by reeds that sway faintly in the breeze, their tips brushing together with a dry whisper. Beyond them, a white crane stands poised in the shallows, one leg folded delicately beneath its body, its long neck curved in a perfect arc. Watch, the monk whispers. The crane dips its beak into the water, then lifts its head in a slow, fluid motion. droplets falling like tiny beads of glass back into the pond. A faint ripple spreads outward from its legs, breaking the reflection of lanterns and stars before settling once more into stillness. Most people move through life as though carrying a heavy load, the monk says. Each step stiff, each breath burdened with thought. But look at the crane, it carries nothing. Its movement is light because it clings to nothing. You watch as the crane unfolds its wings slowly, their span immense and startling in the quiet night. For a moment it simply stands, feathers catching the moonlight like fine silk. Then, with a few slow beats of its wings, it lifts from the water droplets scattering in its wake. The crane rises higher, circling once over the pond before vanishing into the darkness beyond the trees. Its cry echoes faintly, a sound both mournful and free. The Buddha spoke of letting go, the monk says, like the crane releasing the pond beneath its wings. When we cling to the earth, our hearts grow heavy. But when we release, we discover we were meant to fly. You breathe deeply, feeling the cool air fill your chest. In your mind, the image of the crane lingers its effortless takeoff, the way it trusted the air to hold it. What would happen, the monk asks gently, if you allowed yourself to move with such grace? To let go of what you clutch so tightly and trust that the wind will carry you. The monk steps away from the pond, his feet light on the mossy path. You follow, and though your body feels the same weight, something within you has shifted. Zen monks often watch cranes for hours, the monk says softly, not to learn how to fly, but to remember how to let go. The lanterns cast long, gentle shadows as you walk. Overhead, the sky is vast and quiet, holding both the bird's fading call and the silence that follows it. And in that silence, you sense a quiet truth. Freedom is not in the wings. It is in the willingness to release the ground. ChatGPT said Section 12. The path curves gently, leading you away from the pond, where the crane's cry still seems to echo faintly in your chest. The air here feels lighter, carrying a hint of coolness that brushes softly against your face. As you walk, you notice the faint outline of a small wooden structure ahead, perched at the edge of a low stone wall. The monk steps up to its doorframe and slides open a panel, revealing a simple room illuminated by the moonlight spilling through a wide open window. The space is bare, except for a small cushion on the floor and a paper lantern glowing faintly in one corner. Come, the monk says softly, stepping aside so you can enter. You cross the threshold and feel a gentle draft move through the room. It carries the scent of pine and wildflowers from the garden outside, mingling with the faint aroma of aged wood. The window is wide and unshuttered, framing the night sky and the tops of swaying trees beyond. This window is always open, the monk says, settling onto the cushion. It lets the air flow freely, carrying away the old and inviting in the new. You kneel beside him, feeling the coolness of the floor beneath your hands. A soft breeze brushes your cheek, lifting a loose strand of hair. You close your eyes for a moment, breathing in deeply. Most people live behind closed windows, the monk continues. They trap stale air within their minds, old thoughts, old fears, old identities, and wonder why the room feels heavy. He turns his gaze toward the night sky. But when we open the window, the air does what it has always done. It moves, it cleanses, it refreshes. A leaf flutters in through the open frame, twirling gently before landing near your knee. You watch it settle its edges, curled and brown, and feel no need to brush it away. The Buddha taught of anatta, non-self, the monk says. We cling to the idea of who we are, as though the mind were a room we could keep locked. But the self is more like this window open, shifting, never fixed. You take another slow breath, the cool air filling your lungs. As you exhale, you sense the edges of your thoughts softening like curtains, swaying in a breeze. What would happen, the monk asks gently, if you opened the windows of your mind and let the wind move through? Could you allow it to carry away what no longer serves you? You close your eyes again. At first, thoughts crowd in as they always do, fragments of memory, flashes of worry, old echoes of conversations long past. But as you sit in stillness, a breeze stirs against your skin, and something begins to shift. You imagine the wind flowing through the rooms of your mind, lifting dust from forgotten corners, sweeping away stale air. One by one, the thoughts grow lighter, like dry leaves carried effortlessly out the window. Zen monks often sit before open windows for hours, the monk says softly. They do not seek to control the air or stop it from leaving. They simply breathe, trusting the wind to bring what is needed and take what is not. The breeze grows stronger for a moment, ruffling your hair and cooling your face. Then it softens again into a gentle, steady current, like the rise and fall of your own breath. And in that movement, you feel a quiet spaciousness open within you. Not an emptiness, but a lightness, as though the walls of your mind have fallen away. The monk places his hands lightly on his knees, his eyes half closed. There is no need to hold on, he murmurs. The air will always find its way through. You gaze out the open window where the trees sway softly in the moonlight. Beyond them, the night sky stretches wide and infinite, each star flickering like a tiny lantern in the darkness. And in that vastness, you sense a quiet truth. The mind, like a room, was never meant to stay closed. Section 13. You step out of the small wooden room, leaving the open window behind, as a gentle breeze follows you, lingering on your skin like an unseen hand. The monk leads you along a narrow trail bordered by stones worn smooth with time. Ahead, the air grows cooler again, tinged with the scent of water and faintly sweet blossoms carried from unseen branches. The path opens suddenly into a quiet clearing, where a pond lies still and dark, reflecting the night sky. Lanterns float on its surface, their soft golden glow trembling in the faint ripples. At the far edge, reeds stand tall, their slender stems swaying slightly as though whispering to the water. The monk pauses by the water's edge and gestures for you to sit beside him on a flat, moss-covered stone. You lower yourself carefully, the rock cool beneath you, and gaze out across the pond. Look, the monk says softly. The water is still now, and so it reflects all that rests above it. You see the stars shimmering in its surface, the moon glowing faintly, and even the faint outline of your own face staring back at you. A gentle breeze passes, stirring the water. The reflection ripples, warping the images into abstract shapes before settling again. Most people look for themselves in the world, the monk continues. They search in titles and memories in other people's eyes. But these are like ripples, constantly shifting, never still. You watch as a leaf drifts down from a tree above, landing softly on the pond. Concentric circles spread outward from the point of contact, disturbing the stillness for a moment before fading into calm once more. The Buddha spoke of vipassana, clear seeing, the monk says. When the mind is agitated, it cannot reflect reality. But when still, it shows things as they are. You breathe deeply, the air cool and fresh, and notice the faint sound of frogs croaking in the distance, their voices low and steady. What would happen, the monk asks, if you allowed the mind to settle like this pond? Could you see yourself clearly without clinging to the ripples? You close your eyes for a moment. Thoughts rise. Memories, worries, fleeting images, but you let them drift like leaves across the water's surface. You do not follow. You do not resist. Slowly, the waters within grow calmer. Zen masters often meditate by still ponds, the monk says gently. Not to escape life, but to see it mirrored back to them. In the stillness, they find that the self they seek is not solid. It is water reflecting the sky. You open your eyes again. The pond is calm, once more, its surface smooth and clear. Your reflection gazes back at you, but it feels lighter now, as though the edges of who you think you are have softened, blending gently with the night around you. A breeze stirs again, sending tiny ripples across the water. Your reflection wavers, fragments, and reforms. The self is not fixed, the monk murmurs. It is like this pond, constantly reflecting, constantly changing. There is no need to grasp it. Just watch, and it will show you everything. You sit quietly, feeling the cool stone beneath you, the night air on your skin, the gentle hum of life all around. And in that stillness, you sense a quiet truth. You are not separate from the water, the stars, or the night. You are their reflection, and they are yours. ChatGPT said section 14. You rise slowly from the moss-covered stone, following the monk as he steps away from the pond. The cool air clings to your skin, carrying with it the faint, sweet fragrance of the blossoms overhead. The path ahead narrows, lined on both sides with slender maples, whose leaves hang like delicate hands reaching toward the earth. The monk pauses beneath one of the trees and looks upward. You follow his gaze just as a single crimson leaf detaches from a high branch. It spins lazily in the air, carried by an invisible current, before landing softly on the path ahead. This is the season of falling leaves, the monk says gently. Each one releases when it is time, with no thought of where it will land or whether the tree will miss it. You kneel to pick up the leaf. Its edges are slightly curled, its veins delicate yet strong. The red hue is so deep it seems to hold a quiet fire within. Most people fear falling, the monk continues. They grasp at what is passing, clinging as though they could stop the turning of seasons. But Zen teaches that surrender is not defeat. It is freedom. He steps forward slowly, his feet barely disturbing the layer of leaves scattered across the mossy ground. The sound is soft, a faint whisper as the soles of his sandals brush against them. The Buddha spoke of upekkha, equanimity, the monk says. A mind that is balanced does not cling to gain nor recoil from loss. It sees the rise and fall of all things and rests in the knowing that nothing is truly lost. A breeze stirs the maples. More leaves detach, swirling gently through the air in a graceful dance. Some drift into the shadows, others land in patches of lantern light, their colors glowing like embers against the dark. What would happen, the monk asks softly, if you let go of your branches? If you trusted that falling is not the end, but a return to where you began? You watch as a small cluster of leaves spins downward together, their descent unhurried and serene. They seem to know exactly how to ride the wind, making no effort to control where they will land. Zen monks often walk gardens in autumn, the monk says, watching leaves fall for hours. In each one they see a teaching: what releases, renews. You take a slow breath, the air carrying the earthy scent of damp leaves. A memory rises of times when you held on too tightly, resisting change, fearing what would happen if you let go. But here in this garden of falling leaves, the fear feels distant, as though it belongs to someone else. The monk bends to pick up a golden leaf and holds it in his palm. The leaf does not grieve, he says quietly. It trusts the wind to carry it home. He releases the leaf, and you watch as it drifts away, spinning lightly, before coming to rest on a patch of moss. You exhale, feeling something loosen deep in your chest. The monk turns to you, his eyes calm and warm. To fall is to return. To release is to find the ground beneath you. As you step forward, more leaves tumble from the branches above their motion, slow and graceful, as if time itself has softened to let them pass. And in that soft rain of crimson and gold, you sense a quiet truth. Letting go is not falling away. It is falling into place. ChatGPT said section 15. The path rises gently now, and with each step, the night seems to grow thinner, as though the darkness itself is beginning to soften and loosen its hold. The monk walks ahead, his movements as steady and unhurried as ever. You follow in silence, feeling the cool air shift around you, carrying a faint warmth that wasn't there before. At the crest of a small hill, the path opens to a wide clearing. The garden stretches out below, and beyond it the horizon glows faintly with the first traces of dawn. The stars overhead are fading one by one like tiny lanterns being gently extinguished to make way for a greater light. The monk stops at the edge of the clearing and folds his hands lightly in front of him. You come to stand beside him. Together you watch as the horizon brightens, soft hues of pink and gold blooming in the sky, slow and steady like the unfolding of a flower. This is the moment between night and day, the monk says softly. It is neither here nor there, yet it holds all things. You breathe in deeply. The air feels alive, charged with a quiet energy, and carries the faint scent of morning blossoms and cool earth. Most people, the monk continues, rush toward the light, as though only daylight matters. But peace is not found in the brightness alone. It is found in this space, in the meeting of shadow and light. The sun's edge breaks over the horizon. A single golden ray stretches across the garden, catching on the petals of flowers still heavy with dew. The pond you passed earlier reflects the growing light, its surface glittering like a field of tiny stars. The Buddha spoke of Bodhi awakening, the monk murmurs. But awakening is not becoming something new. It is remembering what has always been here. You feel the warmth of the sun touch your face now, gentle and comforting, and with it comes a deep, unspoken sense of spaciousness inside you. What would happen, the monk asks, if you allowed the light to fill you, not to change you, but to show you that you were never incomplete? You close your eyes for a moment. The warmth seeps into your skin, your breath, your very bones. And as you stand there, you feel the quiet truth of his words settle into you, not as an idea, but as a knowing, but as Zen monks often greet the sunrise in silence, the monk says, not to worship it, nor to grasp it, but to rest in its gentle unfolding. When you open your eyes again, the sun has lifted fully above the horizon. Its golden light spills across the garden, illuminating every leaf, every petal, every ripple on the pond. The mist has vanished completely, leaving only the crisp clarity of morning. You have walked through the night, the monk says softly. You have emptied your cup, opened the windows, watched the leaves fall. And now, you stand in the fullness of the day, not as someone who has arrived, but as someone who has awakened to what was always here. He turns to you, his eyes warm and calm. This is the gift of the silent garden. You may leave, but its stillness will walk with you. The monk begins down the path again, his figure glowing softly in the morning light. You follow. And though your steps carry you away from the garden, you feel as if its peace has taken root deep within you. And in that quiet knowing, you sense a final truth. Awakening is not a destination. It is simply opening your eyes to what has always been. ChatGPT said section 16. The path winds gently downhill, now leading you back through the garden that has become so familiar in the quiet hours of the night. The morning light streams softly between the trees, spilling across the moss and stones in warm golden patches. Birds have begun their gentle songs, their voices weaving through the air like delicate threads of sound. The monk walks ahead, his pace, unhurried, his presence as steady as the rising sun behind you. You follow in silence, each step light, yet grounded as though the earth itself is cradling you. Soon the old wooden gate comes into view, standing exactly where you first entered. But it feels different now, not an entrance to a secret space, but a threshold you can cross with ease, carrying the stillness of the garden within you. The monk stops beside the gate and turns to face you. The corners of his mouth lift slightly, a faint smile that seems to hold the entire night's teachings within it. You have walked the garden, he says softly. You have met its silence, its falling leaves, its flowing waters. And now, you return not as you were, but as you truly are. The breeze shifts, carrying the faint scent of plum blossoms and the lingering aroma of sandalwood from the tea house. It brushes across your face like a tender hand, and you close your eyes for a moment, breathing it in deeply. The Buddha taught that stillness is not found in a place the monk continues. It is found in knowing you are not separate from the place. The garden is not outside you. It blooms wherever you stand. You open your eyes and look around one last time. The soft lanterns, the stone paths, the quiet pond, now sparkling in daylight. Each detail feels etched into your memory, not as something to hold tightly, but as a gentle reminder that peace does not live only here. What would happen, the monk asks gently, if you carried this silence with you into the world? Could you walk your days as though the garden were beneath your feet? You take a slow breath, feeling the warmth in your chest, the steadiness in your steps. Zen monks return to the world after long retreats, the monk says. They sweep the floor, chop vegetables, speak with others, but the garden remains with them. It is not in their hands or their eyes, but in their way of being. A bird flutters overhead, its wings catching the sunlight as it vanishes into the trees. The sound of its passage is brief, yet it leaves a softness in the air. The monk inclines his head slightly. Go now with the garden's stillness in your breath, its quiet in your heart. The gate opens both ways, and peace follows wherever you walk. You step through the gate and pause on the other side. The world beyond greets you, the distant sound of a bell from the village, the faint laughter of children, the warm light of the waking sun. And yet the silence of the garden lingers, not as an absence of sound, but as a calm presence within you. As you take your first step forward, you sense a quiet truth. The journey never ends. The garden walks with you,